Well, that's my talk. I was volunteered into this too. Apparently, Tim thought it would be interesting to hear stories about people getting benefits from actually writing. And I kind of went, well, that's weird. I'm a software engineer, by the way. I don't write. I don't feel comfortable writing. Writing scares the living daylights out of me. So I thought I'd ask who here considers themselves a writer. And by that I mean somebody who can't help but write, or enjoys it, or thinks it's just normal.
What do you mean?
Now, statistically speaking, in this room, we a whole stream for writers, and I think we don't quite get 30% as people who consider themselves writers. So yes, you are not normal. But obviously, as we were asking before, there are more of you here who actually do write and consider writing as important. And that's one of the things that I fell into when I started my Docker journey. I started sometime September last year, where I did the weird thing for a software engineer and I read the manual. And this is how I then formed my opinion of the product or project and started using it, and it kind of snowballed from there. I found myself not being able to help but fix things. Yeah.
What is your opinion of the Docker project?
I love it. I cannot find a way of doing the things I do with Docker that's better yet. But then again, now that I work for Docker, I'm not sure that I'm really looking for an alternative. So there's a little bit of guilt there. For all I know, Rocket or LXD might actually be more of what I want, except I don't think so. Maybe. So I was kind of curious to know, those of you who aren't writers, why do you write?
The knowledge that you gain has to be communicated, and if no one else is going to do it, you've got to start somewhere. Do it yourself.
So kind of the victim complex thing. It's got to be done.
It's better than the Stockholm syndrome.
Damn it, I'll do it. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I have children.
Yeah. GitHub complains if there's not a README file.
I have very, very many GitHub repositories, but I never noticed that because it's the first thing I...
Stop right there.
This is the point where I kind of think maybe I'm not a software engineer anymore. Yes. And so, all of this aside, I now am a documentation maintainer for the Docker project and do this sort of thing for a while, and somebody at Docker rings me up just after they get some funding and say, hey, would you like to get paid to do this job that you're doing anyway? And it's like, why would I say no? What strikes me after a year of working for Docker, though, is that there are almost no writers involved in the project, even now. And I was really... I don't understand, because I don't know why writers choose to join the projects they do. Or even worse, I don't think I've actually joined a project that has a writer. So, for me, I have a question for you guys. As writers, how do you pick your project and what can we do? Because we need writers. Because I'm not one.
That's not a rhetorical question, right?
No, seriously.
I'm assigned writing projects by my manager.
Yes, but that's... Even though there are people who are like that, they're the minority. The ones I'm actually interested in, or knowing how to promote, is the idea of people who aren't assigned a task, but choose this project and write for it. And obviously, you OpenStack guys have got people who do it.
I was going to talk more about projects that I have chosen to get involved with, as opposed to... obviously I got involved in OpenStack because I work for Rackspace, so I get paid to work on OpenStack, which is kind of cool. But I've also done stuff I've done stuff with little groups that I came across at LCA. Actually, one of, if not the first LCA I ever went to, one of the guys put up a slide at the end and said, one of the things they were looking for in their funny little project that no one had heard of was documentation people. I walked up to the guy after and said, "Hi, I'm a technical writer. Can I help? Because this sounds really cool." I've worked on LibreOffice, mostly because I used it, and it was a project that I cared about because I was a user of the project. So I think a lot of it comes from personal communication and just what you're working on. I've got spare time at the moment. I happen to be using LibreOffice. Hey, I'll contribute to the docs. So a lot of it is accidental almost.
Yeah, which is hard to attract. Although you do have a good point in that I don't think we've written much in the way of tutorials or anything to make it attractive to people who aren't technical to begin with. So, the first thing I actually did with Docker was to create a publican Docker container because I needed publican for something I was trying out because of some job I was applying for. But, so that would actually be more interesting. And that's now in Red Hat's docs. But that hasn't led to anything either. But yeah, that's a point. Obviously, writing documentation for the users you want to attract, and then you'll get some proportion of them.
And making sure you ask for that help as well. It's not just about having the documentation there, but making it very clear that you are looking for documentation help.
Yep, asking for help
people
is...
are sometimes less willing to just jump in.
Well, as in, so the point was asking for help, and that's true. I don't think we're actually actively on our page saying we need help. I also wonder whether that's statistics where there's just so many developers being interested in Docker, for example, whereas documentation people haven't got a reason to care yet because we haven't given it to them. So, cool.
I won't go into politics.
That's another problem.
That's a whole way track.
Yeah, I'm a bit more proactive, possibly because I'm a director rather than somebody who gets paid a regular wage. So I tend to document stuff to encourage people to work on it.
Yeah.
So because I know that if you've documented something, somebody else is more likely to pick it up and run with it.
Indeed.
And so, yeah, update the docs on it, turn it into a magazine article, spread it far and wide, tweet about it, whatever,
yeah.
and you can actually get people going, actually, I could work on that.
Yeah, that's the thing that I thought was really interesting in the last year. It's like the hype around Docker is ginormous. So it's not the spreading of the idea that seems to be missing. It's that other thing to convert documentation writers into being interested or contributing. Because the hype around Docker is amazing. And so, it surprised me that hasn't converted into more writers coming along, just magically.
2 minutes.
I will write documentation for whoever pays me cold hard cash.
Yes, indeed.
Me too.
Yes, indeed. Me too. Yes, but the thing is that that I'm curious to know whether there are parallels. There's at least 50% of the contributors to the Docker project as encoders are doing so on a volunteer basis. And there's at least 20% of them who are not being paid cold hard cash. They're just curious, interested, and contributing.
Right.
Now, to me, that should translate into some percentage of writers who are also going to be interested in doing this for their own fun.
Well, I would add that as a programmer, I've learned that documentation is an integral part of programming, and basically, I document everything I do. Because for my clients, that is a service that they need to have, even if they don't know they need it.
Yeah. As a consultant, you'll learn it pretty quickly, yes.
And even for myself. So I guess I would have expected that a lot of programmers would want to document their contributions to, say, Docker.
But unfortunately, reality says not really. It's kind of the minority who really do want to document. There are those who then grudgingly do it, and then there's the ones who often forget. pointing mostly at
Yeah,
Red.
one of the things for the company I work for, one of the things we've been asked for a lot, and which hasn't really been mentioned at all in this whole thing, is video documentation, where you actually have walkthroughs and that sort of thing. And that's a whole interesting another question. And I was just wondering what your ideas, are there? I mean, you see a lot of developers, but generally there's somebody giving a talk with slides on, but actually walkthroughs of how to do things.
I was asked about that last week by some people, and I had to answer, I personally don't know because I don't understand the medium. For me, watching a video is just too intrusive time-wise, so I don't do it. And so I don't think I understand enough about it to actually produce some. So, I mean, there's an opportunity to actually find people like you who might be interested in that so that we can know what might work. And even better, you want to come help? Go on, say yes. Commit 5 days a week.
Depends where I am.
Indeed. So, yes. All right, well, that has been very interesting for me. Hopefully you guys got something out of it as well. Thank you very much.